The broadcast is
Oh,
now starting. All
and we're
attendees
starting.
are in listen-only mode.
Okay, I think I just hit start a bit too fast there, but okay. um, yes, welcome everybody. It's the weekly Noyantis Usergroup meeting. Today is November the 5th, Bonfire Night, as we call it in the UK. Um, as always, if anyone's got any queries or questions or ideas, or just want to bounce ideas off us and so on, or suggestions, then by all means raise your hand and we will cover the particular content. While we wait for questions and queries to come in, I will give an update as to where we're up to on particular releases. The full product suite, obviously Kojak released version 18.6 a little over, probably about a week ago now, maybe a smidge more. The updates are all but ready. I did promise I'd get them out last week, but unfortunately a couple of things cropped up. But they are basically virtually ready for release. I've just got the list at the side of me here now, and I think I've got here's where I'm doing my testing, so you can see both the reg-free com settings and the 18.6 compatibility, and there's only 3 left to do. So basically, they will all be released probably tomorrow now, to be fair. They are all going to be 18.6 compatible, as we expect. The main 2 products which are getting an update as well is the suite controls, where there's been some work or additional work on that to cover the Kojak's equivalent of the entry control and the tree control and the button control. Now, basically, I did those while I was playing about with the Unicode compatibility, where I was having actually some success. It was only the Clarion OLE container which ended up being a little stumbling block, which we've already covered in past tests. But it does mean that we can start using them going forward to replace the Clarion screen controls, which will be better because if people remember from, I think it was Clarion 9, Clarion 10 onwards, Softvelocity started to apply the owner drawn attribute to the controls to handle a flicker situation, which meant the skin framework couldn't skin those controls. Well, now we're working towards having an enhancer template, which will automatically change the Clarion controls to the Kojak equivalent, still keeping your code and your triggers and the events still in their same place from a Clarion point of view, but we'll replace them with the Kojak equivalent, and that means they will be able to be skinned. So we're making advances on that. Plus, of course, ready for Unicode, we'll be able to utilize those straight away. Touching on Unicode, actually, a couple of examples I've been knocking together of late have actually been using the report control with Unicode, which we already know can support the edit in place and so on. So if you've got a suitable backend like a Microsoft SQL Server with nvarchar, the data storage type, the field type, the column type, then you can actually store it. You can display it and edit it. And the report control release tomorrow will include those particular changes to help you do the edit in place when you're using data binding. So that's data binding is straight to the ADL source, the SQL source, and command bars. So you can use the command bars. If you use the command bar designer, then that supports Unicode. So you can actually start to have your UI starting to utilize it if there's a pressing need until Softvelocity fill in the gaps. Support it, then you could actually start at least doing some kind of screen UI using the controls which you've already got, so on. So they're the main control. The suite controls is having extra work put to it, and the other is the report control is having extra work put to it. The clash, the conflict, we should say, where when you're using it in a trackbar mode, and we wanted to enhance the conflict facilities, so that'll be in the release tomorrow, and so will the edit in place changes. So for a data bind point of view, so they are the main 2 updates, and as well as the Kojak updates, there are Also, there's a change which we mentioned last week to the web browser control within the suite controls of CodeJock, where we start exposing the ability to manipulate the DOM objects of the page that's loaded, should you want to. And those same changes have been put into the HTML editor template. So the NBit, or Zupeltech as they are now called, that has also been updated to expose the DOM objects and a few new methods for you to be able to manipulate the DOM. The example applications will be updated to include examples of these. Okay, so we've actually got a question in on that. Where are we? So it's Richard. Let's open microphone. I don't know if he's got a microphone. Put him on the spot. Hi, Richard.
Hello, can
Hi.
you hear me?
Yes, can do. How are you doing?
Not so bad. You mentioned the tree control.
Yes.
Does it with Ultra Tree or the standard Clarion tree control?
Sorry, does it? The tree control is a control from CodeJock. It's part of the suite controls. So the suite controls is like a group of various different UI controls all in one ActiveX. So the report control is a browser, if you will. The calendar is a calendar, but the suite controls contains several different elements. I've got a problem with the microphone there. Yeah,
Is that a little bit clearer?
It is, yeah. Yeah, so the suite controls does have various different UIs to it, a date time picker, a pop-up control, a web browser. So it's like a group of smaller controls, and one of those is a tree control as well. I mean, personally, it comes in handy. I've been working on a couple of different UIs, which I might actually show, if anyone's interested. I'm working on a couple of UIs, tying together the task panel and the tree control, or the task panel and the command bar, and so on, that type of thing. If you want to have tree within tree and so on and so forth and tie it to your records, then personally I think the report control is probably the better vehicle for that, because that also supports the tree structure.
Right. Okay.
But it's got more functionality. But if you're just after a simple menu system, which you've got grandparent, parent, child, grandchild, that type of tree, then the tree control can definitely do that, and have you provides other little options to it as well, and single click, double click, and intercept all these things as you would expect. So you've got all those, but I think a simple report control using that tree would offer maybe a tiny bit more flexibility. Depends on your requirements as the best tool for the job, so to speak.
Right. It's because, with Ultra Tree, they sort of did their own version of the tree control. And although it still uses the Clarion browse, essentially, they have different events to the standard Clarion tree examples. So I didn't know whether it would tie in with some of the events that Ultra Tree can generate.
So I haven't got Ultra Tree, and although we have been asked a couple of times in the past, do we support it? I'd have to speak to their vendors, because it's actually only been a couple of times, to be fair. There's absolutely no reason why we wouldn't be able to support it. The report control, say, for example, and we could do this similar with the tree control if needed, but the report control offers an enhancer. Now, that enhancer can be a list enhancer, and that'll take a look at a standard Clarion list, which ultimately Ultra Tree will be making use of. Take a look at that list and read its contents, and then paint a report control identically over the top of it. So it can build its content from a Clarion list, so including trees, including the tree structure. So there's no reason why it couldn't automatically enhance a Ultra Tree, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose what I'm getting at is because Ultra Tree uses their own, or have generated their own events. Those events appear as buttons and so on, and so they've generated user events, for want of a better description. And I didn't know whether they would tie in automatically into the CodeJock stuff or not. or whether there'd have to be a bit of work to marry up the events from UltraTree to the events in CodeJog.
Not knowing UltraTree, my gut feeling is I don't think it'd be a problem. I really don't, because you'd have all the events of the whichever control you went with, tree control or report control. You'd have the events of that, which you'd be able to then pass back to the back end if it was being enhanced, which is what we do, say, for the Clarion enhancer. Sorry, the Clarion browse enhancer. All we do there is take what's in the Clarion list and then read it, icons and all, and paint a report control of it. So it'd be the same. And then when you're interacting with the report control, because that's the thing what's visually on display, when you double click a row, we'll automatically post a event new selection to the Clarion list on the particular row in question. So basically what we're doing is we're just emulating what the user would do in the Clarion control, but via the report control. Via the CodeJog control. So we can pass a lot to that, and equally, as long as we know what events to listen to from the back end, then we can act accordingly of whatever those events are. I mean, have you got an example of a couple of events, and I can tell you, if you tell us what the event is and what it does, and I can tell you, if we'd be able to emulate.
So some of the events that they've got, because what CodeJog will do is not CodeJog, but what UltraTree will do is it will give you a load of buttons underneath the list control,
right,
where you can generate your own user events. But the standard ones out of the box for UltraTree are things like expand all, page down, and other things like that.
Yes, you've got all those. You've got those.
But they tie them all to buttons, and then from there you can control and do what you want, so to speak. I mean, if you wanted to create a button that would expand the next 5, you could do that.
Then expand the next 5 levels, you say? So
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Of the current row you're on, what happens if it's not got 5 grandchildren, 5 depth?
Well, you need, because basically you'd have to code that yourself, but they're the sort of thing you can create your own user events with UltraTree, you see, so you can control it in quite a few different ways. But I wondered how the system would sort of work with, say, CodeJog.
Well, you've already got the standard contract and expand for the current highlight row, and you've got the contract all and expand all for all rows. So you've got those out the box anyway. For navigation, you've got a set of navigation methods. So you can say skip to the next level, next record, skip to the record after that, skip, and so on and so forth. And you can expand a row via code, and contract a row via code. So to emulate contract 5 wouldn't be the hardest of tasks. It would literally be, read 5 down, contract it, come back 1, contract it, just go up its parentage. So I could, whether they are user events and whether you have to code them yourself, there are methods in our class to support everything you've just said there. There's methods to support that. I don't see a problem in that kind of thing. I'm not saying there won't be scenarios what aren't covered, of course, but from what you've just said there, I don't particularly see an issue.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's been. I don't know. Are you fully up to date on the report control and some of the toys it has and so on and so forth?
No, I haven't seen. That's why I'm here today. So
that were a leading question. I know you've been out the Clarion team for a little while, so I didn't know how was up to date you were on that R tool set, because a lot's happened with Clarion of late, obviously.
Yeah, because I when I looked at all of this, you were still writing them all out, to be honest.
I still am.
I had the scheme framework in my bug reporter, but then when the government said no, I couldn't have an export license, it was a case of, that I had to shutter that business. And I've used the ribbon controls a few times, but like I said, that was a long time ago. So,
they've all moved on. They move
Yeah.
on all the time. Hence the start of today and Kojok's 18.6 and so on. Let's just quickly flick through some of the basics of the report control, just for yourself, to bring you up to speed. I won't cover all the old ones because chances are you've seen them last time around. But I'll cover basics and some of the niceties, if you will. So just quickly recompile this. And this is one of the products that's getting more work ready for release tomorrow. So a simple report control. Oh, yep. Sorry, don't ignore that. I've got everything unregistered while I was testing the Reg3 com. So yeah, sorry about that. 1 second.
Have they actually got com in Clarion 11 now?
Reg3 com.
Well, I mean, it was one of those things where com wasn't really working. I mean, I had something from Andy Islands when he was running Plugware, so I could use com that way.
No, not much has changed on it, to be honest. Well, no, actually, that's not quite fair. That's not quite fair. We're between Clarion 9 and 9.1. Sat down, Bob made sure he come and visited each of the third-party suppliers at the in the solutions room, and basically give us one wish, if you will. It sounds a bit thingy, but mine was that we need reg-free com, so we're not really reliant on the com controls being registered within Windows and all the security headaches that go really with that.
Right.
And I put an example together. I sent him a VB example so he could see the controls in action, via reg-free com and what was required. And true to his word, he added it, and since 9.1 onwards, we've got really good support for reg-free com. So that's a step forward in my mind.
Yeah.
So the report control, simple report control, which ultimately is a list. With the column reordering and so on, as you would expect, and so on. And to jump a couple of things forward, the better ones you would be interested in from a power point of view would be, say, the grouping. So you can see here, let's take that grouping out and put that back, put the from there. And let's group it by just whether they've basically been the type. So now we can see the class. And maybe that's a bit of a poor one, actually. The receive's probably a better one. So you can see these received last 4 weeks, the last week, and this grouping you can control yourself. So the grouping at runtime is pretty powerful, and you can save and restore all these settings, of course.
Is it page loaded or file loaded in this example?
This example is just manually loaded, so I've just done it from a queue and just said, right, put these entities into there, just an example.
Right.
Okay.
I just wondered how it's pulling up all, if there's a lot of records, I wondered how it copes with a lot of records.
From a grouping point of view, it can only group what it can see. It's a golden rule. So the data really would have to be loaded into the control. I mean, I use this for reporting, for clients' reporting facilities, and I've got a particular system, and they inherited the system. Previous person had provided quite a lot of reports, a bit too many and a bit too specific in each report. By taking a step back and giving them one really good detailed analysis, so I'm tying it together with a property grid to dynamically question, give the search parameters of the actual the results, and then I build a report control of the exact content that they want, and then they have the ability to go and hide columns, show columns, depending on who's looking at the data, and group the data with grouping totals, which we haven't actually really pushed at the moment. I think I'll add an example to the next the next example app. I use it quite a lot in mine, and the totaling is brilliant. So we could say here is this size. We could say, right, we've just grouped dynamically at runtime on the receive date, and it would total the size for you automatically. We don't have to code anything. You just give it one particular formula to say, I want a group total of this column to this column, and it will do it for you all automatically. So the group totaling is really powerful, and it's something we haven't really pushed to date. So we should do that more. But yes, basically the dynamic grouping and sorting is a bit of a winner with the users, and you can see a couple of the buttons which are automatically added for us, so you can expand all, contract all. So they're just 2 buttons which the template can add for you to the window. And we can see, obviously, there's not a tree, it's just a grouping, but the contract all will work with those as well with the groups.
And it wouldn't be a problem with a couple of 100,000 records?
No, I don't see why not. No. I mean, of course, yeah. I mean, you've got what if you start getting a lot of records.
There's a lot of work there, so.
Yep, but one of the options you've got, if you wanted to bring them into your own queue and manually load, that's great, so on and so forth. If it's a file loader browse which you can enhance, I don't think that would be the best vehicle for it personally. I would actually read the data and bring that straight into the report control, and then let the report control do the sorting, the grouping, and so on and so forth. So put a progress bar up while you're getting the data into it, or you could use the data bind facility, which bypasses Clarion actually. And what you do is you bind the report control straight to an ADO data source, and then you say it's Microsoft SQL. You could say, okay, give it the connection string, give it the query and the where clause and so on and so forth, and then give you basically the select statement, the columns, and those columns are brought back straight into your system. So if you do cases and grouping and change the column names in your where clause, or maybe querying a view, then that's fine. That they come straight in as your query results should be.
Would the ADO be the preferred route for fetching large data sets?
I probably would go down that path, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So there's your grouping. You've got a field picker, which I said, I quickly mentioned. You can normally I'd have this hidden and shown under condition, but if you were to go removing certain fields and you go, I needed that back, then of course you can just bring it back. So I'll put the price over here, and we wanted the CC. Well, it weren't the CC, sorry, it was attachment over there, and so on. So that's just a field picker, which is part and parcel of the report control. You can show your data if you wanted to in icon view. So these are still the actual individual rows, but now you're showing them as different icons. I think we have a better example where it's a makes of cars. So, for example, that's the type of facilities. We have got edit in place, and obviously you've got hyperlinks and right click, so on and so forth. You mentioned the tree. So this is where we can say, and the tree can be on any column, of course. So you can see here. So, and you can expand all. So we could say contract just that row, expand just that row, or contract all rows. Now, let's expand all rows so the whole tree is exposed. So, and these are just the template lets you add these buttons to the window should you want you to, and it'll obviously you link that button to the report control just in case you've got more than one report control. But they're just calling methods, so you've got all these exposed to you, so you can do all of these through code if you wanted to. And of course you've got grouping and so on as well should you want the tree with grouping. Actually, because it's probably a while since you've seen them then, the inline search and inline filter is quite nice. So we've got this data loaded, and what we've turned on here is this inline search row. So this will build all the unique values of the data. Now on 200,000 records, that would add an overhead. So I would turn this on, but I wouldn't have it build the values for you. You can have it working without. So basically, you could say select, I want all the ones which highlight all the ones what say I don't understand. Or you could just type in and say, give me all the ones what mention Mary. So there's only probably a bad one, that one. What mention male. So there you go. So you get to see your highlight. So if it was a large data set, I wouldn't have it build all the unique values because you're going to have a time overhead on that. But it will still work if you haven't. It'll work on whatever pattern you give it, whatever content you give it, I should say.
Right.
Okay. That's the search. And of course, we offer an inline filter as well. So, for example, we do mail on that, and our data set is just down to the mail. And then back again. Now that works again, just like the grouping, it can only work on the data it can see, so the data needs to be in it. But when when we're filtering there, we're not actually deleting the records, we're just changing the visibility of the rows. So there's a property against each row that says is it visible or not. So we're just changing its visibility property. So it's not as though we're going to have to remove hundreds of thousands of records and then re-add them. We're just going to go and change the properties of those raw objects.
What if you were just to type the letter M? Does it pull up everything that's got the letter M in? Irrespective?
Yeah, no,
Right.
I've got that to a contains. You can in the template, and of course the properties you can change it all at runtime. In the template, I've set that to contains, but you can have it as starts with, ends with, contains, and I can't remember what the other ones are, but I'd have to have a look. But there's a couple.
So that if you were a slow typer and you then typed MA, it would then start narrowing down the search even more. Bit like you see with some of the.
I know what you mean. I've not done it. I'm waiting for you to physically enter the. I could tie it on that actually. You've got two events which are being triggered. You've got value changed. So if I do MA return, that triggers an event of value changed. If I want to have it as value changing, so as I'm typing, I could then have that do the M's and then the A's and so on and so forth. So I could actually. That's not a bad enhancement. So there you go. That's the whole point of one of these things. I'm just going to put that onto my.
That's a bit like one of the search locators at the moment.
Yes, like a combo box.
Yeah, I can't remember what it's called now, but in Clarion in the browse box, and like in the combo box, the more you type, the more the locator or the search facility can reduce the data set accordingly.
Yeah. So that would work well for that example. So yeah, I'll make a quick note of that in a second.
Does it work with wildcards as well, like an asterisk or a question mark? So if you did MA question mark,
no,
that's still fine.
I don't think it would, because at that point I'm taking over that, because CodeJock doesn't actually provide that facility, the filter or the search. We're adding that, so that's basically our template, our class, what's going through and supporting this particular facility.
Right. Okay. Would you be able to add wildcards?
It would slow it down a little. It's not out of the realms of possibility, definitely not, but it would slow it down.
Yeah.
But never say never.
True.
So yes, basically that's the type of thing there, printing and so on. These are the enhancers. So there's a Clarion list. That's the same Clarion list, page loaded, enhanced. So you just add the enhancer to it. Mixed results of it, I'll be honest with you. I've done it, but I'm not a fan. You get better results if it's file loaded, as you would expect.
Yeah.
And obviously it just works on our aliases, and this is just showing various. Oh, you've got multi-selects, so we can see different records being highlighted as we're going through. That's just showing the record ID.
So you could use this instead of Mike Hanson's super tagging instead.
You could, but you can also, it's basically this. You could use it with, I suppose. Me and Mike's got a pretty good working relationship, so and I think we've already spoke about putting our hook points into each other's stuff in the past for the clients. So we've actually started the ball rolling. We just never really pushed it along, actually, but we have actually started the ball rolling on support for super tagging for Mike's stuff. To be fair. Because the initial hook point would be, as you can see here, I'll highlight that. And the row ID, by the way, is what I've set. If you set the row ID to be the from field, then that would say James Howlett, and that would say soft velocity, and so on. So I just happen to give it the record ID in the table. But basically, this is going through highlighting different records. Well, that queue is constantly maintained for you as you're going through, so you could query that queue yourself at any time, and I could also tie that straight into Mike's, just basically call the relevant methods for it within his class to say that's now tagged.
The way Mike's works, he runs a queue. So where you've got your row IDs going in, you could essentially be populating those values into his queue.
Exactly.
And then work with his process templates as well then.
Yes. So yeah, I'm all for collaborations between the providers. Then everyone's happy in my mind.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're the enhancers, and then just very quickly, because I don't think you'll have seen these last time, is the basically where you can use it scheduling. So you still got your report control. You can then add an extra type of column to it, which is a track bar, and on the track bar is where you can have all these different blocks and so on and so forth. So let's delete all blocks. Gets a bit messy there. So we could say, okay, let's add a block to this row here, and we've just added one. It's just taking random data, and this is the thing where we were saying about clashes. So there's some work going into this. So if you was to add, what's that? It's about 30 into. I'd say that's 30. If we was to add another one at 30 there, then the template will currently, because again, CodeJock would allow it and just bump the next one down. There is a queue which is maintained of conflicts. So if you was to add it and the template says allow it, then it would put an entry into the conflict queue to tell you you've got two clashes. You've got two conflicts at 30 on that row.
I could have done with that control 10 years ago.
Do you know what? I think it was probably in the CodeJock control 10 years ago. That's the thing.
Was it?
I bet it was a while ago.
Back in about 2008, I was working on a contract that was for a building system.
Right, okay.
We spoke about you being able to do another add-on, not CodeJock.
Oh, yes, it weren't CodeJock. I bet I've still got them.
Yeah, but I could have done with that 10 years ago.
Well, I use this in collaboration with the calendar. From a scheduling point of view, so you've got the power of the calendar, and you've got the power of the track bar to basically show two different views. Calendar for an overall calendar view, if you will, and then if you're onto a particular day from a resources planning type point of view for that day, then the scheduling and being able to, let's add.
Yeah, this would have been ideal for like planning, sorting out the jobs, doing all the management.
The usual resize and that type of thing. So that's the report control. So out of the two, if you was going for the tree bit, I imagine, if you will, let's just jump back to your original question, although it's always worth a good catch up on stuff. There's your tree. They're not deletable in this. Okay, so I'd imagine, if you will, that is your only column and your tree, then, I think this would be your better option to repaint or replace your Ultra Tree. Not for the functionality of Ultra Tree, I believe it's very powerful. It's just the UI of it. So you take the Ultra Tree and then you paint it with this, and that's probably where we come under our enhancers. So you can see all of these are based upon tables. So there's a Clarion table, and these are the icons, and then I don't know why it repaints the icon, loses the icons in the background. It just does. But this is a Clarion table, but in icon view. So an enhancer on the Ultra Tree really wouldn't be that hard, because you can enhance Clarion browsers, a standard Clarion list off a local queue, and I think that's it actually. So the build, but it won't be in tomorrow's version. The next build of the report control will include the facility for you to say the data source is a TPS table or a SQL table or a SQL query, that type of thing. Because what we're moving towards is coming away from the enhancers and bypassing Clarion's browse control template. So you'll just add the report control and say, it's from this table and these are the fields that I want. And obviously a record filter and the range limits and the usual things you would expect. But to go hand in hand with them is the insert, change, delete buttons, the print button, the view button, that type of thing.
Right.
So just going to add what you just said there about right, where am I? Report control. Sorry, I have my own little. Don't know if anyone uses Jira, but I'll just put it on Jira so I don't forget it. So report control. Allow.
Does this go to work on a multi-monitor setup?
Don't know. Don't think so.
Right. Because if I've got 3 monitors here, would I be able to just have go-to working on one of those monitors?
Oh yes. Sorry, yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. When you show, you just say, okay, which one you want to show.
Right. Because this has improved a bit as well. It's a far cry from hooking up a microphone to a mobile phone and then having a conversation with Bob Z in Kings Langley.
Oh right, okay, that was a few years ago.
Yeah, that was a right Heath Robinson setup. That was.
I remember attending the Keith Langley youth groups a couple of times. Yeah, there was good old days.
Were you there when I had the headphones and the microphones that you could plug into your smartphone? Well, I cut one of those and I soldered up a microphone to it and then some bigger speakers. So they plugged into the smartphone, and then we had like essentially a conference call, so to speak, that way with Robinson.
I think I missed that one. No.
Yeah, that was real hit and miss because we were getting feedback over the microphone from the speakers.
No, it sounds like it was a good job that I did miss it.
It worked, but you had to keep turning the microphone off, otherwise you got the whine.
Okay. Well, so hopefully that gives you a bit of an idea, like you say, about the Ultra Tree. There is an enhancer in it. You could try literally just putting the list enhancer over the top of the Ultra Tree's painted control. So and see the results. That'd be worth a test, so to speak. So
don't even know if Ultra Tree is still going at the moment because I think he did an update for around about Clarion 6, Clarion 7.
I believe it. I've not heard to the contrary, so I presume it is. Yeah, I presume so.
Right, I'll have another look, see if I can find him.
So, okay, now we have got a question off Jesper, and I think it's on this. So I'm just going to bring Jesper in. So I'll cut you, Richard, for now. But if you've got another one, just jump in, get a type of question. So, Jesper, microphone's open. Hi, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hi, how are you doing?
Pretty good. And you?
Yes, fine, thank you. So your question is a particular problem that we highlighted a few weeks ago now, weren't it? And that is the best way of loading data is to prime up a group and then pass that as an optional parameter on the add row. This is for the purpose of the video for the people watching again. So yes, basically, say for example, any of these call an add row, especially for the save restore. Actually, let's just jump to this scenario, this example. So this calls an add row, and then you set each individual column individually. Now, the fastest way of getting the data in would be to actually prime up a group structure which marries up to this column definition and pass it as the last parameter, and that will speed up the adding of data quite a bit. But as you identified, the save and restore of the layout can actually upset that, because the group structure is field 1, field 2, field 3, field 4, so on, and the column definition is field 1, field 2, field 3, so they all match perfectly, but then the restore is actually restoring a different column order prior to the row being added. that's about essentially the problem. Yep. Okay. So yes, an update's out tomorrow, and I can't say 100% because I've not fully tested it, but I'm quietly confident. Yes, you'll have your fix in that. Okay. Because
I'm trying, and if it don't work, you'll hear from me again.
I'm sure I will. And next week you'll probably come on and give me, a bit of grief. But no, I know exactly what the problem is. We even emulated it, and it's very simple to emulate in a test. And it literally is. We define a group structure of one structure which matches the column definitions from the template's point of view, which is perfect. But it's a perfect match. Field 1 through to field 10, and groups as field 1 through to field 10. But the restore is putting them into a different order prior to the add row. So what I'm thinking is where the group structure is going to kick in, it will still go off and add, but instead of it doing the columns as you see them now, as we add the column, what I'll do is I'll add what the column index is. Obviously, you've got the column index as it is now, but you've got the master column index, which is what it's defined as, and I'll do the matching on a master column index, if that makes sense. So although, let's say field 3 would naturally be the third column, you might have rearranged it so it's the 10th column. And that's where the problem lies. Well, as we're doing the matching, what I'll do is I'll match, as I'm adding them columns, I'll add them with their master index, if you will. So when we go to do the matching, instead of matching what the current index is, we match on what the master index is. So 3 always goes into column 3, even if it's currently column 10 or 11 or 2 or whatever. It doesn't really matter. So we'll match them on a master index, if that makes sense.
Yes, brilliant.
And that's the theory behind it. We can but try, but in theory, I think it should work. Okay,
I'll try it indeed.
So basically, the two which are going to be won't delay. They'll delay the overall project. The overall update will be the suite controls, which I don't know if you saw at the start, but literally that's the one I was just doing some tidy ups on because I don't want to. There's some notes in the template and so on, so I like to tidy things up before they get released. So there's some enhancements to the web suite controls. They're in the they're being tidied up, and then they go into the release tomorrow. And then there's a couple of things on the report control. Yours is one, the conflict queue, where we want to dynamically add a child row if it detects a conflict. That's the other. Those two go into the release, and they, like I said, they'll be tomorrow.
Okay.
But you'll see a whole a release to the whole set tomorrow because. Just the nature of the actual update, it's just being an update to the whole suite. So yes.
Look forward to it.
Okay, so yes, no, please try it. Hopefully, it should work. It should fix your particular problem, and then you'll be back at loading at good speed. So,
okay, thank you.
No problem. Any other questions? No. Don't know if anyone can remember who attended last week. We was playing about with different. It weren't necessarily last week, but I was trying different UIs. Oh, hang on, Roberto's just asked a quick question. Let's just bring Roberto. Obviously, he wasn't here at the start, or he would have listened. Would have heard. Hi, Roberto.
Sorry about that. If I wasn't there at the start, well, that's why I don't know.
No, it was just they are all but ready. All the Res3 comms are good to go. Basically, yes, all the updates are good to go, except basically I just want to release a whole suite and a HTML editor at the same time. The Chillcat editor the Chillcat comms library will follow suit, but it won't be tomorrow. It'll be probably the day after, with some big QuickBooks Online and Xero updates in it, some very big ones actually, but and some socket enhancers as well, enhancements. But the CodeJock stuff should go out tomorrow with the new report control changes and the suite control changes.
All right.
So yes, that will be tomorrow.
did Kojak fix that problem with
No, the print preview? No.
Yeah.
We tried it quickly last week with Halandro.
Man, that's a biggie. I mean,
Well,
it's like,
I wouldn't mind seeing if there's anything I can do to try and work around it, but in fairness, I'm only issuing one command, and that's their print preview command.
yeah, I know. I know.
There's not
So
really
it's
much
obviously
I
a
can do.
Kojak thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I'll more than put my hand up if I think it's my problem. But on this, it was working, and now it's
Yes.
not. So they have introduced something. It's just, can I do anything to work around it? Can I reinitialize the control, or can I don't know, see if I can do anything, or is it a known bug? I can't believe it's such a blatant known bug which they've not fixed for a couple of versions. That's not really like them, to be fair.
Right.
So,
But they know about it, right? Or
oh yes,
Or
yes,
does it-
of course they know about it. It's just not really seeing. I'm
Any
wondering whether
fixes?
it's a Clarion specific issue.
Mm.
That's
Right.
the query. So if it's something we can detect and work around, then I'm happy to put that into the template. We've done that in the past where Clarion's thrown us a curveball where it's not happening in other languages, but we've worked around them. This could well be the similar type scenario. Yes, just it was while we're waiting for other questions, which of course, if anyone's got any, please feel free to jump in. But I was just going to quickly show this was an idea I was bouncing around for a UI last week. Just going to bring it up. Where are we? Won't be a second. Sorry about this. Okay, so this is just I actually pinched. It was I don't know, it was a .NET type program or whatever, but the idea was to come up with something that just bring this up. So something which basically allowed you to have an accordion type UI on the left, which of course I am put the code in there, which would contract back and expand out, that type of thing. Just get people's feedback, giving ideas, if you will.
Is that with the test panel, or what's that with?
Well, here's the thing. So I tried this. This is using the task panel. So we've got the task panel grouping facility, of course. So we can, and it's set to auto close other groups. And we've got a task panel group with just shortcuts in them. So this is these are task panel. Well, actually, I'll explain what those are in a second. But this is a task panel, and all the groups of this group, all the items of this group are set to be icon only, and I want them in like a little Explorer type interface. So that's quite nice. And then for the content of the actual task panel group, I played about with the tree control of the suite controls, which is in the next build tomorrow. It's been in there for a while, but never really wrapped up. So there's a bit more work. It's still work in progress, but there's a bit more. It's a bit fuller, bit more filled out, if you will, the class. But I had the tree control in here, which worked quite nice, to be honest. But I wanted extra flexibility, so I wanted where I could actually have children, but show them only under condition. So, for example, now I can go to that, and I've got just the sub options of just that option. So what I'm actually doing here,
Did you right click on that, or did
just single
actually click on
just
it?
single click. So if I click on that, I would get the equivalent of a new selection or event accepted, if you will, and so on. But on this one, I wanted it to pop out. So what I'm actually using here is I've got a task panel and I've got a command bar with two bars on it. One bar is called Northwind, one bar is called User Management, and then the handle of the item that I'm using for the task panel is the handle of the Northwind bar, and for this one I'm using the handle of the User Management bar. So now I've got individual bars of a command bar hosted in the task panel.
Will this grab your menu automatically?
Haha, that isn't in tomorrow's build, but that's exactly the next thing I'm working on.
Yeah.
and they will both work on the app frame. See, now I'm going to start doing collaboration. So when you've got the command bar and the approach I'm going to be using would be, I want the task panel on the app frame, which of course is a docked window. I want the command bars on the app frame, which of course is a separate docked window. But I want collaboration so that the task panel can see the command bar and the command bar can see the task panel, which we've already got covered. We have that already in the template set because the class is defined at the actual app frame level. So all the classes are at the same level, so they can be made aware of each other. But the command bar the command bar docked window will be hidden. I just want the resources of it. I don't want the command bar to be visible. I just want its resources. So I'm going to have my task panel running, the command bar running but hidden, and then I'm going to pinch the actual bars off the command bar and host them in the task panel. And yes, the next update of those two will allow for that. And of course, there'll be others where you'll be able to do similar. So it goes naturally that the next, the shortcut bar will be able to interact with these things. So the shortcut bar hosting the task panel and so on and so forth, that type of approach. So there'll be some the examples of these coming out very, very soon. Because I need this for an actual application. So as usual, if I need it, it jumps to the top of the queue. So yes, I quite like that UI. I think that's quite clean and crisp. Do you agree?
Yes, very cool. Very cool.
Okay.
Especially the automation.
Well, that's all. The automation from the app frame, and then basically, yes, build the ultimate automation. Which the way it should work would be, you'd have these two bars. Let's say you had a Clarion menu structure of, file, edit, Northwind, user management, whatever, browse, so on and so forth. Then you'd be able to define a bar called Northwind and say, just pitch the elements of the Northwind part of the menu structure for me. The user management would be just pitch the user management parts of the Clarion menu structure for you, and so on. So you carry on keeping your code in the Clarion menu, but the bars are automatically read and dynamically built from those, and then hosted within a task panel, like so. So all of it will be very simple to implement.
Cool.
Okay. Any other questions? It looks like
don't
none.
have any.
No, it looks like none. We could well be on for an early finish here. It's only been 55 minutes, but that's okay.
Except I'm going to say those two words, multi-DLL.
Multi-DLL, yes. And of course, and of course.
How are we doing on?
Well, okay. I need to get these ones out.
Hey, wait, John.
What?
We don't have a suite installer yet.
We haven't been talking about suite installers. We've been talking.
Yeah,
about
but that it's older. It's an older thing that he said he was going to do.
But there's more there's more benefit in the
right.
multi-DLL. And besides which, I'll be honest, I'd sooner put the time, especially as now I can't rave enough about the Chillcat stuff because I'm using it all the time, and for APIs and just general comms for everything, and I'm using it all the time. It really is good. So I sooner put my time into basically having a little Noyantis app which runs in the tray and brings down the updates for you automatically. Not apply them automatically, because the last thing you want to do is go updating people's Clarion setups. But rather than an installer, I sooner put the time and effort into something which brought them down in the background and then told you when they were available, so you can just apply the update that way. So you're never actually using the installers. I think that would be more beneficial.
Yeah, after the multi-DLL stuff.
Well, yes. So, as per your question. As per your question,
years and years and years.
As per your question, the multi-DLL I quickly, obviously, I'm getting these updates out, the 18.6 and so on. And I was at a particular point, especially on the calendar one, where we did all the testing, if you will, and it would delay it by too much. It was already, I wanted them out last week, so we're going to delay it by too much to be able to get them out by tomorrow. But 100%, John. Once this set of updates are out, including the Chillcat though, in fairness, including the next Chillcat update, then all of the products will then go up to version 5. So the Cold Jock ones, that is, they will go up to version 5, which will be the multi-DLL. I took a look. What we had is pretty good. It's more or less there. The only thing we would have to do is we would have to add something to the data DLL, which is obviously responsible then for exporting the particular global variables which are created. So you would have to add it, no settings, but you would have to add it to the data DLL, and then you would have to add it to the main exe, which is where you would do your main settings for the reg-free com, the version, all the settings which we kind of know, all your template settings, and then anywhere else you use them, you'd be able to just say no, just use the resource template. So yeah, it's probably a good day's work for me to go through and do the template changes as per the changes we've covered in the last few webinars where we actually worked on it. But that's all. I'm quite happy on the approach that we were using. Of course, I've still got the thing at the back of my mind about the theme settings, quickly changing those and throwing them into the mix. And on heart, I think I'll probably spend half a day just researching that, doing a test of what we've got, purely from the calendar's point of view. And if it's all successful, the multi-DLO, which I really don't see a problem with, then I'll probably just have one quick go at the theme settings to say, use the one from the resource, but of course it would only be the external theme settings, which are the Office 27 up to Visual Studio 2015, those ones, or use the one on the template. So I would, if people are going to do this one-off pass, I think I'd like to give them the opportunity to do all of the settings in one pass, which just makes sense in my mind.
It'd be nice, yeah.
So, but the license and so on and so forth, I think the approach what we've done, which is based upon your original idea, by the way, so you take full credit for this. Yes, basically, I think it works. I think it works well.
Cool. Okay, doke.
So you, by all means, all the updates will be out by next Monday. So then we can say, okay, well let's start, knocking them around. But nobody wants to sit there for a webinar and watch me just repeat and rinse the same series of macros on each template time and time again. That'll be a bit of a boring one. But by all means, push me along, because we are within touching distance of it, which is long overdue. But all the versions will bump up to version 5 because I think that's a nice, clean. It is a major update to them all. It is an introduction of a new Cold Jock support template, which helps them all. So they will, regardless of what 4 point whatever they're on, they will bump up to 5, so that we know that they have got the resource compatibility added to them.
Sounds like a Christmas present to me.
It will be. It'll be an early Christmas present. You will have it way before. You'll have it in November. There's definitely no reason why not. So,
ooh, a holiday present then.
Birthday present.
Do you know this? I've got a. Of course, we're busy on lots of things as well, application and contracting and all the usual stuff which we do day in, day out, of course. But there's actually some enhancements to each of the products that I've got planned. Some of them small, but nice, like Property Grid. The hot grid idea. It's never been fully. There's an example in the example app, but it's never been fully automated from the template point of view. There's still a few things you have to set. Nothing too crazy, but we could fine tune that. So that is a small enhancement, but a nice one for the user point of view. So you could attach the property grid to a browse and then have it read only. So as you're already in place, so as you're up and down, it's changing your records accordingly. That's a small one. Straight through to the command bars is having a bigger change done to it. Tying the, as we saw here, I don't know what you think of that UI. What do you think of this, John? This particular example.
Oh, that looked pretty cool.
Yeah.
I like the little icons at the bottom. That's kind of nice.
We love Clarion, but just don't like its UI. That doesn't look like a Clarion app. In fact, to all intents and purposes, at that point, it really isn't. But of course, from a Clarion dev point of view, it is. All the embed points will still hook in the normal way. But the command bar is also having its backstage view added to it, which has never been finalised, but all the work's been done. So there's lots, and it's about time some of this work actually got released. The chill cat has taken a lot of time out of our schedule, of course, but that is rounded off quite nicely, and it's at a point where I think we can start putting some time into other things as well. So watch this space. I will be pinching. When I think we've got a really good set of updates, then I wouldn't mind a Friday slot to just renew, show the current users who don't attend the Monday that they have actually got some toys they're not using. Okay, well, there's no other questions come up. So, and I'm not in a position because I'm in the middle of the release to actually do anything on the multi-DLL. If there's no other questions or ideas, then I suppose we can wrap up. That sound like a plan?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Wrap it up.
Wow, it's an early one. Okay, bonus. Okay. Until next week. Okay. Cheers, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Right.